Okay, so now let's work the problem of cost of capital for stock that we've issued. Now, we might issue stock at an IPO at a price of $50. Unfortunately, those greedy investment bankers are going to want to take their slice of the pie, and in this case, we assume that they're going to take $8. In the slides, we show it as $42 as the net proceeds, but we'll get to that. The stock that we're issuing will pay dividends of $2.50, and we're assuming a growth factor of 10%. Again, that's the return on equity times the profit retention rate. So let's see how we calculate the cost of capital for equities. We can start with the formula that we want to take the dividend, right, divided by our net proceeds. Oh, by the way, the parentheses are going to be important in here. So what are our net proceeds? Net proceeds are $50 minus the $8. Okay, so we're going to take I'm going to add another parenthesis here to close that up. So I'm going to take my price. Shit. So now let's calculate the cost of capital for common stock. I'm going to use the example that I had in the slides. There we had a price that was issued at an IPO of $50. So we did an IPO, the investors paid $50. Unfortunately, the firm doesn't get all that $50 at an IPO. Those greedy investment bankers want their share. And in this case, they're very greedy and are going to take $8 out of that price. The dividend is $2.50 on this common stock. And we expect a growth factor of 10%. Remember, that's the retained earnings times the profit retention rate. So expect the business to grow at 10%. What is our cost of capital? Well, let's calculate it. Now, as I calculate this, it's going to be important to watch the parentheses. So recall that it's the dividend divided by, it's not the price, right? It used to be the price plus the growth rate. Now it's going to be the net proceeds. So I have to calculate the net proceeds as 50 minus 8 gives me my net proceeds. This is pretty much the dividend yield, right? The yield on a stock, except we're using the net proceeds here. Notice the parentheses. I want to take my dividend yield, which gives the outside parentheses, the black parentheses, divided by my net proceeds. And I take that and I need to add my growth rate. That's the formula. Now, you might see the flotation cost as a percent. So you take the stock price times 1 minus the percent that the investment banker would take. But let's take a look what we get. Our cost of capital here is 15.9%. Let me copy that so you can see them both together. I'm going to give you the warning again that when you do these things, please remember to take a sanity check. If you get a number here that's 20, it's greater than 1, you know you have an error. Or if it's 0.00001, you have an error. Do the sanity check and then go look to see where you made the mistake. In these, your mistake will probably happen in here. The price minus the flotation, your net proceeds. If your problem calls for something like flotation, let's suppose the flotation costs are 0.05%. Let's suppose they're 5%. Then the way I would calculate this is equal to the dividend. Let's actually use, so it's the dividend, again, divided by the price times, I got to keep using these parentheses, 1 minus this number over here. Okay, that parenthesis closes that. I need another one to close my net flotation cost, and I need another one to get rid of all that, and I add my cost to that. I'm sorry, add my growth rate to that. And let's see what we get. We get 15.26. It's a little bit less because this 5% is less than the 16%. All right. Let me copy that. So this was 1 minus the percent cost for flotation, my percent flotation costs. Again, do a sanity check. If this comes out to be a 20, you're really messed up. You might, if it ends up being 0.0001, you've messed up. Give you an example. Let's just try this. Let's suppose I just put in that. I get a 1.1. I don't like that. That's not right. I have to subtract this. Or if I just forget the flotation costs, or if I forget the parentheses, I can really get this messed up. So it's good to get used to the parentheses as you do this. I need to do that. All right. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions, you've got my email.